got it.
40
All right.
minutes.
You ready, Grayson?
Yes, sir.
Because we're going to shoot this a little bit short form and long form, I'll give you the raw. I'll just quickly introduce you.
Okay.
And this is from Asian Maker.
Yep.
Ready? Are you not going to hold that the whole time, are you?
I am gonna hold it the whole time.
You are not going to
This is
hold
how
that.
I have to work, make it work. This is what we're doing.
What? Put it right up there.
Your hand's going to be soaked.
Because it's gonna have to. I can't just set it in the middle for the booms.
We just put our live mics on. We have the live
The
mics.
lobs were crackly and stuff. This is gonna sound better. I promise. It's gonna sound better. We'll close this door though.
Unbelievable.
I got you.
All this equipment.
And I gotta hold it. Now, because what I had intended was to use yours for him and use mine for yours. And for some reason, since that other camera's not working, I don't have another way I can't record both. So
Next time
I
we
know
do
it's
this, I can just
confusing.
bring my
Well,
little Bluetooth. They're really.
Well, we have two of them right there.
I just don't like them. After all the things that we did and had to reshoot that one because it was crackly, and
All
I
right.
know we didn't have to reshoot all of them, but we're good.
All right.
You
Ready?
guys got them up there?
Oh yeah.
I can bump through them if I need to. And then, do you want me to watch the clock, or are you gonna watch the clock?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
Okay. We are good to go. Go for it.
Josh, I'm really excited about sitting down with you and asking you some questions about the real estate industry. We've been working, I guess, as contemporaries for the last 15, 18 years or so, and I always respected your business and think that you have a depth of experience and knowledge. And so I just thought it'd be great to sit down and be able to ask you some questions. I know that you have a lot of agents that look to you as a leader. I know that you have a lot of clients that looked at you for advice. And I just wanted an opportunity to be able to sit down and ask you questions that I think would benefit me and hopefully our audience as they listen. So thanks for spending some time with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks for the opportunity. It's going to be great.
Going to be great. I came up with a series of questions that would relate to nationally, maybe some political topics that would affect the housing industry, as well as some local topics. So I'm just going to jump in and
Let's do it.
love to hear your perspective on all the things. Here recently Trump took administration, and I'd love to hear your perspective on maybe how you believe that the real estate industry will be affected through the Trump administration over the next 6 months to 4 years. Any perspectives there?
Yeah, I think the Trump administration is going to be very pro-business. Obviously, he's a real estate guy. He's a developer. I think that he's going to do several things to have a positive impact from a business perspective and from a real estate perspective. What all those things are, not sure yet, but I do think he's going to work on interest rates, and I do think he's going to try to do as many things as possible, business friendly. So, what do you think?
Has there been any policies or anything that he's floated out there that's like, hey, that I can see how that could be beneficial to my clients or to my business?
Yeah, I think from a tax perspective, looking at some of these, is he going to bring back 100% bonus depreciation? Is he going to, I do think, they talked about taking a 1031 off the table in previous administrations, and I just think that's a terrible idea.
Horrible idea.
Horrible. So, what about you?
Unrealized capital gains would have been a bad move.
Really bad move.
Really bad move. When I think about the Trump administration, in any industry, or whenever there's been a presidential election, you can go back to the George Bush Sr. days. Anytime the spring after an election, it doesn't matter if it's both Bushes, Clinton, Obama, the only year that's ever gone down in the spring was 2008. And so I do think there's just going to be a natural confidence level that's just going to be this spring.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the Trump effect, but just the fact that the election's behind us. So I think that that's just a natural thing. When it comes down to the Trump effect, I think there are some things that I see him floating out there. What I've noticed is like buyers' purchasing power is so weak right now.
Yeah.
And so when you think about drilling, you think about energy in America, there is definitely, a fuel cost that plays into getting the groceries to the grocery store.
Yeah.
That fuel cost drives prices up. Those prices that get drive up starts to erode buyers' purchasing power.
Sure.
So I really believe that you can point to a policy around energy and see like a trickle-down effect of how that could give buyers more purchasing power to go to put towards their mortgage. I do think that we're having a problem as an industry when it comes to property taxes and insurance and health insurance, like all of those bigger buckets that erode people's affordability. And I know that property or that interest rates gets a lot of attention. And they're like, oh, interest rates need to come down. Well, there's a lot of big bucket items that people are paying for, like health insurance, that takes away from their purchasing power for mortgages. So I think whenever you look at what Trump's policies are holistically, I do think that we're going to have a little bit more breathing room in our affordability. And so that gets me excited. I think any market is driven by consumer confidence, and I think that people have confidence just knowing what the next 4 years could look like.
Yeah, it's a certainty.
Certainty.
Yeah.
If you were president for a day or a week or a year, is there 2 or 3 things that you would love to implement that you believe that would positively affect the housing market?
Oh man, that's a good question. I'm gonna turn that back on you. What do you?
If I was president for a day and I could just wave my magic wand, I would love to eliminate property taxes. It's like, I think it's ridiculous that we pay property taxes. I mean, if you were to pay off your mortgage, and let's just say that you're 70 years old, you finally, over the last 30 years, you've been paying off your mortgage, and you finally pay it off, why are we still paying property taxes? Like, you actually don't own the property, because if you fail to pay your property taxes, they will take your property from you.
Yeah.
So if I could wave my magic wand, I don't want to pay property taxes. I want to have ownership. I don't want to feel like
Well, and when you, yeah, you're right. When you think about insurance and taxes, I mean that's probably, insurance and taxes are probably 2 of the biggest expenses across the board for everybody, whether you own real estate or not.
Yeah.
You think about paying taxes on the money you make, and then you go to the store and pay taxes, and then you pay taxes again, and then you got to get everything insured, and all you do is pay taxes and insurance.
I think I would I'd eliminate property taxes. I think that, like, the capital gains tax being capped at $500,000 for a married couple, like if you make over $500,000, somebody who's lived in their house for 20 or 30 years, that in our market may have over $500,000 in gains. Why are you paying taxes to the federal government on the gains that you worked for decades to create that nest egg? You shouldn't be paying taxes on it.
Well, and if you're in Nashville, Tennessee, and you've owned real estate for, it doesn't even have to be more than 10 or 15, maybe 20 years, your property has doubled or tripled or quadrupled depending on where you bought. And I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
So if you paid $500,000 20 years ago and it's worth $3 million now, that's a big gain.
Yeah, why would you had to pay taxes when you bought the house. You had to pay taxes when you earned the income to afford the house. And then when you go to sell the house, you have to pay taxes again. I mean, like, you're getting tripled and doubled stamped on taxes. I mean, like, so if you were president for a day, there shouldn't be any capital gains on real estate for your primary residence. All of it's gone.
Just get rid of all of it.
Bye. Because what would happen is the person who is finally able to sell that house, actualize all of their gains, is going to take it and put it right back into another property, put it back into the market. Like, it's not like that money is removed from the market. It's more currency. But the taxation is just such an eroding factor to people's net worth. The third thing I would do is abolish any sort of death tax, to where you die and then the government taxes before it goes to your heirs. Absolutely not.
It's just another tax.
It's just another tax. So get rid of property taxes, get rid of capital gains taxes on primary residence, get rid of the death tax. Like, let that
throw out insurance also.
let that currency stay in the market.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, those you can tell I'm not for taxes. Like, that would be great for homeowners, right?
Yeah.
And it's only for
and businesses and everybody, really.
Yeah, I mean, our relationship with the federal government is definitely a parasite and host relationship. We're the host and they're the parasite, and they just keep extracting. And the stuff they spend the money on is stuff that I wouldn't support anyway, but I earned the money, and I don't want to get taxed on where I call home.
Yeah.
Okay, if I make money in the business world, it is what it is. I get taxed on. But I call this home. Like, let me retain my asset.
Yeah, for sure.
Over the last couple of years, 2023, 2024 has been a tough year as a real estate professional. There's been fewer transactions.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say necessarily home prices have come down, but they've definitely gotten stagnant. Homeowners that are looking to purchase in those years because of HOA property taxes, insurance, mortgage payments. I mean, everything exponentially has more of a monthly payment. What are some inhibitors that you've seen just over the last 2 years, as far as that's really made our industry take a beating?
Yeah, well, some of the things that have made it really difficult to afford property. I mean, we do always talk about the interest rates, but when interest rates go from 3 to 8% and then they go back down and hover between 6 and 7, that still makes it tough with all the other inflation and values continuing to rise. The market has certainly softened, but the prices really haven't come down.
That's right.
We're still appreciating in Nashville, Tennessee. It's not much of an appreciation, but if it's in line with inflation, it feels like there's not much out there. But it's insurance has gone up. I mean, I own 2 apartment complexes that we recently sold, and one of them went from $9,200 a year in insurance to over $28,000. It's hard to make those numbers work if you're paying for a 22-unit apartment complex in today's market with today's interest rate and today's insurance rates.
Yeah.
That just makes it really difficult. At the end of the day, salaries haven't really kept up with the rest of inflation. I don't know that I'm necessarily for, $15 or $20 minimum wage, but how do those people, if you're not on $15 or $20 minimum wage, how do you make something happen if you do want to realize home ownership?
So I don't know if you saw this or not. In Zillow, they had a whole report on all the major markets and basically what the effect of purchasing power has been over the past 4 years. And so the benchmark year was January of 2020, and they measured it in January of 2024. In Nashville, to be able to afford the median house in Nashville in January 2020, you had to take home $58,000 a year. Take home household income. So
Yeah.
if there was two
After tax money.
after $58,000 of income, 4 years later you have to make $129,000 to be able to afford the median house in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yep.
So the required wage increase was 110%. You have to make 110% more money to buy the median house in a 4-year period of time. And so if you didn't buy back then,
Yeah.
it's like you missed the boat forever.
And the average person just can't increase their salary 110% in 4 years.
Can't do it.
Not many people, period, can. And one of the things I would say about the ability to realize home ownership or own a home in Nashville, one of the things I do see is these younger people that, if I could go back and give advice to somebody, just go buy a home. Like, even if it's not in the cool, trendy area, because you're probably not going to be able to afford the cool, trendy areas in Nashville if you're a first-time home buyer. You might be able to, but your salary has to be quite a bit above the median or average income levels. But just go buy a home, live there for 2 years, and then go rent it out, and then maybe go buy another one, or maybe start with a duplex and live on one side and rent the other side. Just start building wealth.
You have to get in the game.
You have got to get in the game. Look, if you are renting in a trendy neighborhood in Nashville, Tennessee, you are spending the same amount or very close to it as what a mortgage payment is. What I've found from talking to most of these people is they do not have the down payment, and they need to get creative. Maybe there's an opportunity to co-sign. Maybe there's a gift from a parent or grandparent. Maybe you buy it with a business partner. I don't know what it is, but if I was going back to my 26-year-old, 27-year-old self, and I was buying my first property, I would buy a duplex. And I would live on one side, rent the other. I would live on that one side for 12 to 24 months, and I would move out, fill it with a tenant, and I'd go rinse and repeat 5 more times. Mm-hmm. I tried to do that with my wife. She X'd that off the list very quickly, but I think that's get in the game. Just go buy something. People that have own a property are worth 10x what the average person that rents has. And so when you think about, most Americans have multiple credit cards, and they don't have the ability to even have $400 or $500 in an emergency situation. and you got to get in the game if you want to change your trajectory of your future life.
Yeah. I think that if someone was a renter, they're not yet a homeowner, some of the things that they need to awaken to the reality really quickly is mortgage interest deduction. So whatever you make on your taxes that you're going to have to pay taxes on, you're missing out on the ability to deduct your interest from your taxes.
Yeah.
Your principal reduction payment, it's a forced savings account. So if you struggle with savings, your mortgage payment will force you to get disciplined on your savings.
So we have an app on inside of our CRM, and I show people this all the time. And it's basically a mortgage calculator app. And it shows you, like, if you're buying a $400,000 property, let's play with different scenarios of what the interest rate is, whether you're putting 5 or 10% down. But it shows you the forced appreciation. And you can put whatever you want in there. Nationally, it's 4%. So on a $400,000 house, you're forcing yourself to save $16,000 a year building equity. Like
That's right.
Most people can't afford to set aside $16,000 out of their actual paycheck per year. So do it in the form of owning a home. Mm-hmm. And so I struggle. I see so many people that are making enough money, but they're buying $6 lattes and cappuccinos, or they're going out and, in Nashville, you go drink a Bud Light for $9 at a restaurant or bar, a $22 bourbon. Like, stop doing those things and look at the big picture. I'm not telling you not to have a life, but if you truly want to build wealth and you want to not have to work for the rest of your life, get in a home as quickly as possible. It's kind of like we talk about compound interest. The younger you do it, the more you're going to make.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about local markets here. If you, politically or legislatively, what would you think that could be done in this local market to really help the real estate industry, or real estate professionals, homeowners, like whatever that is? Is there anything that comes to mind just locally, politically, or legislatively?
I'll tell you one of the things that why doesn't the city create some kind of bonds or something to where, locally you can do a tax credit. You can do, there's got to be, either the city goes in with a developer and gives some land that becomes more affordable housing. And the only way that happens is if they give tax incentives to a developer. Most dirt in close to downtown or close to some of these trendy areas is it's too expensive. And the city's going to have to offset and give some kind of credits if they want to do that. Or there's going to have to be some kind of bond, created by the city that allows a better interest rate, or somebody to invest. There's things that can be done, but the city has to get in on it also.
In Nashville, over the last probably 8 to 10 years, there's been a lot of hedge funds that have come up and bought thousands and thousands of single-family houses, which really takes those houses out of the market forever for not only agents to be able to sell them, but also homeowners to be able to buy their first house. What's your opinion about hedge funds buying up single-family rentals?
First of all, I think it should be completely illegal.
Illegal.
I think it is like so bad for the real estate market and for. I read a stat last week, and I don't know. I haven't verified whether it's accurate, but it seems to be accurate. By 2030, BlackRock and a couple of these other funds are going to own 60% of homes that are inside certain areas in cities, so urban areas. So they're going to own 60%, and they want everybody to be an employee, and they want everybody to be a renter. And so then that just creates this, it's just a terrible, I'm kind of surprised we haven't put a stop to them buying that much. You look at BlackRock, they're now the largest holder of Bitcoin in the world. They, all these private companies or private equity groups that are buying, pest control companies, home inspection companies, they're running out of the stuff to do. So they're getting into these really unsexy businesses and they're rolling them up, and then they're going and selling them for $100 billion. Yeah, BlackRock has no intention of selling off anything. Why would they? Real estate, we all know. We've always been told, and it's the truth. It's the greatest investment. More millionaires have been created through real estate than any other asset class. commercial and residential real estate, residential being number one, commercial being number two. Why would they get out of the real estate business? But I think it's like fraud at the highest level. And I don't know that's the right word for it, but I think it's a very bad thing for our industry.
Well, they get government support in their funding, and then they turn around and they get government support through, and the funding is our tax dollars.
Yeah.
And then they take that money and they turn around and buy single family homes for rent, and then people rent them because they can't buy them anymore. And it's like, wait, you're literally taking away the first time. This was an interesting stat that I just read. Last year, 2024, the average age for a first-time home buyer was 39 years old. So rewind. In Nashville, this was probably in 2015 or 16, we had a hedge fund that approached us about buying houses for them. And at the time, I thought, this is great. We're going to buy a volume of houses. So we started buying up hundreds of houses for them. And anything that was like under $250,000, we're just buying them up. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I thought, this is great. We're making great money. But there was a moment of clarity that I had. I was like, wait a second. All those under $250,000 houses are gone forever. Mm-hmm. And now we're like under $300,000, under $350,000.
And in hindsight, me and you should have been buying the $250,000 properties.
We should have done that, yeah.
Because when you see a big company like BlackRock doing something, we should individually be following suit.
Yeah.
And we should be educating our clients on how to build wealth through real estate, and it's buying one house, one investment property a year, or one every 2 or 3 years. But you know what they're doing makes it impossible. So now it's 38 or 39 years old for a first-time home buyer
at $500,000 plus.
At $500,000 plus, and they're cost averaging those properties. They're still buying, but they started buying over a decade ago when nobody was paying attention.
So one of the things I'd love to see locally, from a political standpoint or a legislative standpoint. So I'm against property taxes. Don't like them at all. But if we're going to have them, I would love to see some sort of mechanism created by Davidson County and the surrounding counties go up on property taxes exponentially, like 2 to 5x property taxes, which any local will be like, no. Anybody who's a local that you live here, you could even expand it to the state of Tennessee. If you live in the state of Tennessee, you get a tax credit. However, if you're a hedge fund that's bought up 10,000 houses in Middle Tennessee, because you're a foreign company, you actually have to pay the property taxes. Everyone else got a credit. So you start to put pressure on them. You came to our city to basically rape and pillage our properties and remove tens of thousands of houses from the market forever. Then I tell you what, you're going to have to pay exorbitant property taxes, and you're not going to get a credit like the homeowners. You have to find a way to put pressure on those entities that would blow their cap rates. But I think it's horrible for first-time home buyers because, I mean, literally less than 10 years ago, you could have bought a $250,000 house all day long at 27, 28 years old. Now you're at $500,000 plus at 35 to 40 as a first-time home buyer. That like Main Street has been gobbled up by Wall Street, and I think that anyone who's in the real estate industry that works for a Fortune 500 Wall Street-backed company, shame on you. Like, you don't understand what's happening to the American dream, and your kids and your grandkids are going to be negatively impacted in the future.
Yep. And do you know how many agents sell those properties or take listings and they go, I don't really care if BlackRock buys my listing or not. And they just care about the commission. They don't even necessarily care that, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, you would want your seller to get the most amount of money. But BlackRock and all these funds, it's blood money, but there's also, they're not typically paying the most.
Yeah.
They might come in with a nice offer with like occupancy and all these things, but they're typically not the highest offer or the best offer. They're just doing it fast and closing quick. Because when they show that bank statement with $562 million in it, or whatever the crazy number is, they can buy all. They're going into Houston, Nashville, Dallas, Atlanta. They're trying to buy 50 homes a month in 50 markets.
Yeah. Well, anything that, I mean, Robert Kennedy has a lot of stuff that he's put out there about the the challenges with BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, these hedge funds that are gobbling up Main Street, gobbling up Nashville, both in buying up houses, but also buying up companies like you mentioned, like the HVAC companies or roofing companies. I mean, they're just buying up all the mom and pops. So anything that's backed by BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, it's like these are the global elitists that are putting the American dream in jeopardy. And there's a lot of Fortune 500 companies that are in the real estate industry that are brokerages, that the largest investors are State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock. And those companies, like when agents work for those companies, it's like you're working for the global elite that is working to put the American dream out of reach for our future generations. It's like, man, I wish you could just wake up and stop playing the short game and start thinking about the long-term impact of who you work for. Yep. And it's all blood money, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Whenever you think,
I got a question for you.
Oh yeah.
All right, we're gonna mix it up. Weirdest, most awkward thing you've seen showing a house?
Oh man. 2002 or 2003, I had a mailman in a neighborhood that I told him, I said, hey, if you give me any leads on any houses that I'm buying, I'll give you $250. And he's like, really? I said, yeah, like if anybody's forwarding their mail or somebody died, like just tell me that there's something happened with the house, and I'll find the homeowner or I'll find the heirs and I'll chase them down. So I had bought 10 houses in the Old Hickory Village, and the mailman would find me and he's like, hey, here's an address. So it was 1203 Birdsall Street. He said, listen, this older man, they just put him in assisted living, and the family has taken over the house, and they're forwarding the mail. I was like, okay. And so I gave him his $250 for the lead. And so I ended up driving across town and knocked on this door, and I said, hey, you're getting some mail forwarded from 1203 Birdsall Street. I am curious what you're going to do with the house. And they're like, we'll sell it to you. And I was like, I'll buy it. And they said, you give us $60,000 and we'll sell it to you right now. Well, I had owned 3 houses that were the exact same floor plan, so I knew the value of the house. I was like, I'll do it. And so I immediately signed the contract for $60,000, and I closed on it the week later. I had a line of credit, so I paid cash for it. Never stepped foot in the house. So they gave me the keys. I left the closing table, and I went, and it had a screen, not a screen door, like a glass door. And so there's like 4 inches from like the main door to the glass door. Yeah. And I cracked it open, and the smell like almost knocked me down in that 4 inches of air. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my God, what does it smell? And I opened the door, and what those people had done when they put the old man in assisted living, apparently he had 2 or 3 dogs and 2 or 3 cats in the house. And the family, I guess, had no regards for the animal or the man himself. They filled up 5-gallon buckets of water, and they just ripped open all these bags of dog food and cat food. And for 4 months, they just left the cats and dogs in the house and never came back. So when I opened the door, when I say that there was crap everywhere,
like literally.
Literally, I had to go get snow shovels, and I shoveled 4 33-gallon trash cans of crap out of that house. The animals clawed through everything. Like, they went insane. It was in the middle of the summer. And I thought, man, that's a hard lesson of don't buy things sight unseen. Like, you might want to check out what you're getting. But you couldn't take a step anywhere. Like, when I say, like, there was just crap everywhere. That was the worst thing I'd ever...
Wow.
Yeah, that was the worst house I'd ever bought. What about you?
Oh, man. I don't know if it's the worst. Definitely probably the most awkward was I was showing this couple, had never met him before. I met him at the house. And I walk in, knock, knock, and seems to be vacant. So good, start walking around. We're in the kitchen. And this little old lady who's probably 85 peeps around the corner with just a shower cap on. Literally nothing else. And I look at the prospective clients. I look at her. Well, I don't really look at her, but I'm like, I don't know what to say. This is an old naked lady in the... She thought I was her grandson. I'm like, well, that's even more weird. Never talked to those clients ever again. They were just one of those, like, so awkward, we need to part ways. Yeah.
I went to a house one time. got a lead on it. It was in like the Woodbine area, so the area was turning. We get there, and the homeowner that had inherited the house met us, and they didn't have a key to the door. The door was just unlocked, and it was in a kind of a suspect area. So we start walking through the house, and the house was like a hoarder house. There was stuff everywhere. And we get in there, and we open up the back room in the bedroom, and there's just stuff everywhere. But all of a sudden, the bed just started rustling and moving. And it was a homeless dude that was living in there, and he had a machete. He was like, "Get out of the house!" And there's no power on in the house. It's in the middle of the winter. Like, I didn't know if there was anybody else in the house, and I was terrified because the homeless man pops out of this bed with a machete, and I ran out there, and the guy that actually owned the house, I said, "What?" They're like, "I hadn't been here in 3 years." I said, "They're like, I guess you don't want to buy it." I'm like, "I'm out of here, out of here."
God,
I'm so out of here.
scary.
I remember I unlocked a door one time, and a squirrel, as I unlocked the door, ran in the house through my legs. For the next hour and a half, we were chasing a squirrel in the house, trying to get the squirrel out of the house.
Man, we put up with all kinds of crazy stuff. We should write a book or something.
Yeah, man, like the stories of the real estate, of the recovering real estate agents.
That's right.
I am curious. I want to jump back to local housing. California in 2020, 2021. I mean, just it seemed like we became like Southern California, and everybody just migrated here.
Yeah.
Recently, there has been the fires in California. Do you think that that's going to affect our housing market at all?
You know, I don't know. I certainly think there will be people that move here. I've had a couple of conversations. It's interesting. The last conversation I had was from a guy that was like, you know, I don't know if we're going to rent in Nashville. We're kind of looking at 2 or 3 areas outside of Nashville, Charlotte, and Austin, or something like that. And, you know, one of the things that he said was all the neighboring areas around the Pacific Palisades are, you know, what would have been a $15,000 a month rent, they're now asking $50,000. So they're kind of taking advantage of the situation locally outside of the Palisades. And so I do think we're going to see, I don't think we're going to see a ton of people because the Palisades is really not a huge area. But I do think we will have people move here that, you know, some of them are CEOs. They work from home. They can live anywhere. They can fly back and forth. I don't know that I see that area even getting rebuilt in the next 10 years. I have a client that's from the Palisades and he lives here now. And he sent me a video and it looked like a legit war zone. It's going to be a long time before all the insurance and all the stuff happens there. It'll be interesting to see. I just don't think it's going to get built back out.
Why do you think so many people moved here in 2021 from California, the West Coast? I mean, what do you think?
I can tell you the most amount of people we worked with were from greater Chicago area and then California. And both of them kind of said the same things. For Chicago, it was property taxes are insane. There's no real job creation and the political environment. For California, I worked with so many business owners or executives, and they just, it's like, man, weather's amazing. That's the only positive that I ever really heard. Everything else was, I'm literally being taxed to death. I can't make money. You know, you're going to pay 50% in taxes. So you make $1 million, you're paying $500,000 in taxes. There's no real getting around it. Everything's just I mean, these aren't even people that are like super conservative people. They're middle of the road. They just want to have a livelihood and make money, and you know, they just can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, we saw such a boom in relocation in those couple of years, and it seemed like people were pursuing freedom because at the time cities were shut down or mask requirements, and it seemed like Tennessee was more open. And then when you start to layer in, like, we don't have income tax, and we start to have, you know, more of a safe environment, people are like, these cities have failed us.
Yeah.
Nashville, Middle Tennessee is such a nice reprieve from where we've come from.
Well, and I think that's why Florida and Tennessee and Texas and a couple of these places, the no income tax thing is huge. And then you realize, wow, you can be in Nashville, Tennessee, and fly from Nashville to 66% of the country, 2/3 of the country in less than 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty huge. You can be in Nashville and drive 2 and/or 3 hours and be in the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you've got a lot of stuff going on within a couple hours. And when you think from a transportation perspective, and we've got, we've got pro football, we've got hockey, we've got all kinds. We've got more from a going on nightlife and restaurant game than metro cities that are much larger than ours.
Right.
So
it seemed like in those years, like real estate prices shot up because supply and demand. There was just so many people moving here, and they showed up with a whole lot more money from what they were selling for out west. Yeah. It seems like the locals have had a hard time keeping pace with home values. I mean, it's hard for me, we're real estate insiders. It's like, wait, what's that selling for price per square foot? Like, it's kind of hard to keep pace with things. What has been your advice to the locals that are just trying to make sense of this new reality that Nashville is a really expensive place to live and real estate is really expensive?
Yeah, this is a ongoing forever conversation because of salaries, inflation. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not going backwards.
Yeah.
So we had about 8 or 10 years, 2008 to 2015 or 16, really probably 12 or 14, but even carrying over a little bit, we had a pretty, where prices really truly went down. But if you look at a graph of where we're supposed to be from a median price perspective based on the last 20 years, we're almost to the dollar where we're supposed to be on a median or average price. And look, every 20 years things double in value. Just about every 20 years. 20 years from now, the average price or the median price in Nashville, Tennessee is going to be almost $1 million. Mark my words, we're in 2025, 2045, the average price is going to be approaching $1 million.
So you are an expert, and you train on real estate investing. And it seems like if you just take that principle of every 20 years, it's going to be double.
Yeah.
How do you think about investing in real estate through that lens of things doubling?
Well, I have to constantly remind myself hindsight's 2020. The amount of deals that I missed because I wanted to make a 3% commission and help a client get wealthier, and opportunities that I just passed on. I couldn't justify it, didn't rent for enough money, or I just couldn't justify it for one reason or another. I wish I'd bought all of them. But early on I put every dollar plus some back into my business to build the brand and to do all these things. And so, hindsight's always 2020.
Yeah.
But it's the same way, if you had bought 23 years ago, do you know how much there's a stock, what's that company's name? Apple? Yeah, Apple. It was like $1 a share. Think about it. 23 years later, how many times is it split, and what's the stock price now? Or NVIDIA or Google or all we have to do is just pay attention to the opportunities around us and keep our eyes and ears open. Go ask your kids for some stock. They'll tell you all the best toys and all the coolest stuff. Go invest in those companies. Yeah. We just have to pay attention, and we have to slow down a little bit and analyze. And it's the same thing I tell my clients. If you want to build wealth, it's work. But get a team around you. Get an awesome CPA, get a tax strategist, get a financial advisor, get a great insurance agent. If you don't have a good insurance agent, or you need to check your insurance every year, all the things, go get a great realtor, go get a mortgage lender, go get a banker. You have to have a kick-ass team, and your team needs to be able to help you build wealth. They need to be telling you what to do, but you also have to be willing to do those things. And if you don't do those things, you're going to look back and be like, damn, I wish I'd listened to Jonathan, or I wish I'd listened to Josh. That's just the deal. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it really does. Because I know how important real estate investing is to you, and so being in the industry where we have transactions with clients, and then to kind of move and put on a different hat to say you're a real estate investor, sometimes you can kind of miss the opportunities just because you're in the grind of things.
Yeah.
And I think that, for whether you're a real estate agent listening to this, whether you're a client of Josh's or mine, whether you're just someone who's thinking about buying your first house, it seems like you have to be aware. I'm going to say a discipline. You have to be aware enough to say you have to have high beam, like looking out into the future, and then, and then low beam where you are right now.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You have to be able to look up and look down. Look up, look down.
Yeah. Well, and the thing, I mean, if somebody went, it's probably not feasible for the average person to go buy one investment property every year. The numbers might not make sense, or you don't have a big enough down payment. But if you were to buy one house a year for the next 25 years, I mean, you're looking at you're worth $50+ million.
Yeah.
Like when you start breaking it down, look at the big picture and go, how can I get it down into bite-sized chunks that are so small I can't not do it? And maybe it's not buying real estate. Maybe it's starting with figure out how to go pay $20,000 less in taxes every year, $10,000. $10,000 in taxes is go invest that.
Yeah. It's good.
The number one thing that people are going to spend money on for the rest of their life, hands down, not even a close second, is taxes.
For sure.
You will spend, it doesn't matter if you're a business owner, the average person doesn't feel it because they get their taxes taken out of their paycheck. Whereas me and you get our commission checks and then have to go peel off,
Well, I give you an example. Just today, I talked to I've hired a new accountant, and I asked him. I said, "Hey, you've looked at everything. Do I have any blind spots? Is there anything that maybe I am doing that I shouldn't be doing, or anything I should be doing that I'm not doing? What are my blind spots?" He said, and if you're listening to this right now, maybe this is something that would apply to somebody. He said, "Yeah, you need to find out what your market value for your commercial building is. And your business needs to pay you personally fair market value monthly for the house." He goes, "What you're doing is you're paying your payment out of your business, and you're covering your payment. Great.
Oh, no, I don't."
He's like, "You need to be paying full fair market value because the taxable income on rent is much less than the income that you're earning." I was like, how did I not know this?
Yeah.
So you need to constantly be looking for tax strategies to optimize. And so that one thing, so we hung up the phone, he goes, "That just saved you $8,000 this past year."
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about wealth building, because I don't think you're going to learn it in school, and I don't think you're going to really learn it fully from a book or a podcast. You have to go get around people. You have to go get in rooms and be super intentional about it. And all your team, your tax strategist, they need to be educating us, or you. And so I have spent so much time and energy on this whole wealth building and how do I not pay taxes legally, obviously, if you're watching. No, but it's putting your kids on salary and making them actually do work. It's doing the Augusta rule and renting out your primary residence. Maybe it's to your company. I went and looked around at venues and how much do they cost, and I rent out every month for one day. The Anderson Group's leadership team goes to my house, and we have food catered, and we have all the things. That's $35,000 a year that I'm writing off through the business. There's just all these things, but you got to go out and find them. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to just tell you. You're not just going to read some one-off book that's going to tell you all these things. Mm-hmm. You got to go be proactive. So if you're watching this, if you think you're paying too much in taxes, I'm happy to give you ideas. I'm not a CPA, but I'll give ideas.
If we ever do a follow-up from this that'd be a good thing that we could cover.
Yeah.
Is just things that we're learning in tax strategy.
I would love to do one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Josh, thank you for your time today.
Yeah,
I do think that this is something that we could probably talk for 2 hours even more
so
about.
Much.
And so I'd like to invite you back and have another discussion, because I do think that there's agents, there's clients, there's people who need to hear your perspective. You've been doing this for a couple decades. You've done thousands of transactions. You've built an incredible business. And I just think that you have a lot to offer. And so even this discussion alone, I just think it moves beyond just traditional real estate agent speak. It kind of goes through, how's Josh thinking about important things. What is Josh doing to prepare his clients to be able to make wise decisions? And I just think that wisdom and competency comes through experience, and there's few people in the industry that has as much experience as you do. And I just think that whenever you're choosing a real estate agent, somebody like Josh is the type of person that you want to hire because he has thousands of at-bats. He has 10,000 hours of competency.
Lots of strikeouts too.
Yeah, you have such, but I mean, you've had enough at bats, so your duration of being in the business for a couple of decades versus you actually doing that many transactions, you learn key insights. And so if a client chooses to work with you, it's like you're working with someone who has so much experience that can really help you maneuver towards a better outcome. And so I just really, as a friend in the industry, I just really look to you as inspiration, and you're somebody that I just have enjoyed being alongside of you for the last couple of decades. So
I appreciate that.
That being said, let's do this again sometime.
For sure. Let's do it.
See ya.
All right, I do have to jump.
I know you had to jump, but I got a whole lot more.
I want to finish that. That's awesome.
We're halfway through. That's why I kind of like we'll just